All right, I'd like to welcome everybody for this evening for a Public Service Committee meeting here at the lower level of the City Council chambers. It's Tuesday, March 28th, 2023. It's a little after 6. Roll call, please.
Alderman Sherry Pickering. Here. Ethan Burt.
Present.
Eve Ludwig.
Present.
Tricia Teague.
Present.
Robert Williams.
Present.
Darren York.
Here.
Chairman Rick Streebling.
Here.
7 present.
Okay, thank you. Puts us to number 2, approval of the minutes for 2/28 of 23. Need a motion in a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item number 3, the approval of the agenda. Any questions on the agenda for this evening? If not, I'll need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Puts us item number 4. We've got audience comments. 4A is a public hearing for the 2023 CDBG Draft Annual Action Plan. You want to go with that?
Yeah. Do you want me to briefly go over it, or?
You go right ahead, just to briefly go over it.
Okay. Yeah, this is going to come back to the Public Works and City Council meeting. The draft 2023 CDBG Annual Action Plan, it's posted on our city website under the Grants tab. And typically, each year that we go through this, I just highlight the projects that are being covered and the amounts that are proposed for each project. And just to note, if you've been on the city council for a couple of years, we've been operating out of a 5-year consolidated plan. So the funds have already been approved for each annual year. Not to say they can't change, but there shouldn't be any surprises each year that we bring this funding source forward. So I'll briefly go over the 7 projects. This year, we bumped up again on the total amount, which is $1,043,689. I think it's like a $20,000 increase from last year. Project number 1 is public improvements and infrastructure. That's just your roads, your sidewalks, sanitation, things like that. It has to be located in a low-income qualified census tract. Affordable housing rehabilitation, that's just low-income qualified applicants, which it's a very popular program now. We stick to exterior improvements like roofs, sidings, windows, saving the homes. Blight removal, just demolition, has to be again in a low-income census tract. Non-homeless special needs, so that is modifying a home for handicap accessibility. We typically do ramps, stairs, and bathrooms for that. Homelessness support, that's to support our homeless shelters in the community. Public services, I think we did one with Project Success a couple of years ago. This is not for existing services to support low-income individuals. They have to create an actual new program and utilize these funds to support that new program, and that's $30,000. And then admin is $175,000, and that's just for general staffing. And that's your $1,043,000. Any questions for that?
Is the only place where we can find it on the city's website, or was it emailed to us too?
So it will be in the packets.
Okay.
But right now it's on the city website. I can
Okay.
definitely email you guys it as
No,
well.
I just wanted to make sure before I went.
Counter too. It's on
Okay.
display in
It's on display as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, how many homeless shelters do we have here in the city?
Oh, Mayor, two, 3? 3.
Where are they located at, anyone know?
There are 3. Dayspring is on Bowman Avenue, I believe in the 400 or so block. Then we have, that's for women and children. Then we have the former YWCA, now the YFRC, that's for women and children, and also those who are experiencing domestic abuse. And then we also have the men's mission on the corner of Fairchild and Bowman that used to be the Fairchild School. Additionally, I said 3 because those are the only centers where multiple people can live, but also this past year, we had a group that dedicated the Emmanuel House for families, intact families, to be able to live together, and that's over by, that's over right next to First Presbyterian Church downtown. That's sponsored by the Dwelling Place.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak in regarding the annual action plan? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, do we have any other audience comments?
Yes, we do. Has everyone had a chance to complete the yellow card who wishes to speak this evening? Okay, when I call your name, please come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. First, I have Vince Coors of Danville regarding item 12 on the agenda, which is a contract for dedicated fiber internet connection and fiber Ethernet network services under IT. He wanted to know if the contract was for the entire community.
The question really is simply that. Is this to provide fiber optics only to the city of Danville facilities, or is it to provide it to the entire community? And I would argue that it needs to be for the entire community. If it's not, the provision to the city of Danville facilities only is sort of like the cherry on the tree. And once the city of Danville has it, the people are left out in the cold. It should be done all at once if it's done. Thank you very much.
Next, I have Christy Hare Butos. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Okay, regarding chickens in Danville.
Yes, I just found out about Ethan's project to try to get the chickens in Danville. And although I live outside the city limits, there is a chicken community of people that own chickens. I have 19 hens myself and have had them for 5 years. So there's a really supportive network if you do move forward with this. One thing, it's always helpful to have somebody there to talk to. And I know right now I correspond with people in the Champaign-Urbana area and their Facebook groups and so forth, and they're very helpful there. Also, University of Illinois Extension has webinars and educational programs, and if you do move forward, it might be a case where you can contact University of Illinois Extension and have them do a program at the library for education with some people that have chickens, and you can ask all the questions you want if you're going to have chickens at your home. Another plus is you're supporting local businesses. I know that we support like Tractor Supply, buying feed, bedding, things like that. So you're also, putting money back into the community through your businesses. So I think what Ethan's doing has some really positive effects, and not to mention the healthy, good eggs. That's all I have to say.
Excuse me.
Yes.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
I read it in the newspaper today that they're not going to have any roosters. What's going on with that?
Alderman Williams, I believe.
That'll be in
Yes,
Ethan's
Mr. Massey is going to
presentation.
give a presentation about
I'm
his
sorry.
proposal.
No, I'm just giving some comments in.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He'll be able to better answer it, I think, because he wrote the
Kind of
proposal.
worried me for a while.
Tyler Zenders of Danville regarding laying hen ordinance.
Okay. Hi, I'm just here speaking in support of the proposal he's making. We've had chickens we used to live in Calvin, we recently moved to Danville. We had some hens, we had 6 of them during COVID. We actually got them, they were almost like pets, but we raised them. And I think that Urbana has a really good program where they basically, they've set a lot of rules for it, but I think it's a good system to work off of. And I know that, we're just kind of in support of what he's trying to do, so hopefully you guys hear him out and maybe something can be done, so that's all. Thank you.
Alexis Zenders regarding laying hen ordinance.
Hi, I'm the wife, Alexis, and I just wanted to tell you a little story. So a quick 3-minute story. My husband was wrong. We had 10. And I know this because I was very against them. So 3 years ago, when the world shut down, he took our oldest daughter, who was 5 at the time, to Big R and got grass seed. And I was like, oh, good. They're going to do a little lawn project, fix up the yard. Oh, no, they came home with 10 chicks. 10, I remember, because I was very against this idea. I said, I don't want them. They're going to be dirty. They're going to require a lot of work, which I will be doing. We're all going to get diseases. Why would you bring chickens into our home? We have, 3 small children. He grew up on a farm, and he had chicks and hens as a boy, and so he assured me there's nothing to worry about. It's going to be fine. I said, okay, well, the world shut down. What do I have to lose? Really, that's the only reason I let it slide. I was like, okay, we're going to see what happens here. So these tiny chicks grew up. At the time, we only had 2 girls. They were 5 and 2, I think, at the time. They quickly fell in love. They loved these chicks. They became pets. They just followed them around the yard. We lived in Catlin at the time, right outside city limits, so they became pets. And over time, I grew to love them as well. I soon realized it was a mess. I had to go out and clean the coop, quite often, but that was okay because we got so much out of it. It wasn't even the eggs that got me, it was the friendships. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but there was 10 of them, and like I said, they followed the girls around the yard. There was one point in the winter where our oldest demanded that she take her favorite chick, because she named them all, and she took the favorite chick of the bunch sledding. And they went sledding down the hill, and this chicken went down and up and down all day long on that hill. And I tell you, these hens, were much more than just laying hens. We got farm fresh eggs, delicious, wonderful health benefits, but it was kind of a therapeutic thing because, in the midst of COVID, we didn't have a lot of outside entertainment. We were kind of shut in. I stay home with my kids, so that was what we had, and for some reason it was really good. And so anyways, we ended up buying a foreclosure here in Danville, and we fixed it up, and we moved here a year ago. The first thing I asked, can we take our chicken coop? Is there, what's the ordinance? And of course I found out, you can't have them here, and I was like devastated, not so much for me, but for the kids, because they really grew attached to these chickens. And so, anyways, I just wanted to share that side of the story. That's just our story, but I know that there's other families out there that would really feel the same way. So, thanks.
Nikki Bogart would like to also speak about chickens.
Good evening. I know that this is, we're here tonight, we live outside the city limits of Danville, and we have 39 chickens. And they are a lot of work. I love them. They're all named. They follow me around. We just dispatched the one that would attack me. But while you're thinking about the positives, and these folks are right, there's a lot of positives. The fresh eggs are great. They have little personalities. They're very interesting little creatures. But please also think of the other side of the coin. We have no vet in this area for chickens. If they need medical care, that's University of Illinois. I took one over there. I had it put down. It cost me $600 just to have it destroyed and tested for avian flu. Mine are little escape artists. If that happens in town, that could be a real problem. Who's going to take care of that? Is Vermilion County Animal Control? Because now you're putting liabilities on a different government institution. So while I love my chickens, I'm glad to be able to have them, and I've got more on order June 1st. Please, since we're talking about in the city of Danville, which I was born and raised, by the way, please consider the good, bad, and ugly, because chicken poop stinks. I don't care if it's male or female. It's really hard to dispose of because it will burn any plant that you just directly put it on. However, if you let it compost for a few months and then use it as fertilizer, then it's okay. But chickens are a lot of work, a lot of fun, but nothing good is easy.
That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address us at this time? Okay, thanks. puts us to chairman's comments. I don't have any, but we'll move right into the presentation from Ethan Macy, representing hens in Danville on allowance of backyard hens. And Alderman Ethan Burke, it's all yours.
Yeah, I was approached by Ethan Massey. He wanted to establish a group for this cause. I'm wholeheartedly on board with it. In his presentation, he echoes a lot of the sentiments I would have. Personally, I'm most interested in the benefits for children, for young ones. It's a low-hanging fruit. Nothing good is easy. I completely agree with that. And there's less and less opportunity for responsibility for little ones. One of the examples I was going to bring up was the timing of things when I was young. I was able to go shovel snow and mow lawns and do things like that. By the time I hit my teens, however, there were lawn care services and snow removal services, and I was a bit too old to do a lemonade stand, so I was kind of out economic opportunity. I consider eggs to be sort of the new lemonade stand. We could have little ones learning social interaction, economic interaction, various benefits, but Ethan has covered more of the technical points, and really I just wanted to, I know it's been brought up before, I'd like to know that there's been a full discussion on this. I don't know what's happened before, so I want the good, bad, and the ugly, because I don't, I'm raising my family here too. I don't want to bring a bunch of bad into Danville, but I believe that this would bring a lot of good. So, if you would, Ethan.
Is this working?
All right, well, thank you so much for the time to discuss this. As Ethan mentioned, this has been brought up in the past. I believe it was 3 years ago. I know there was a petition with around 100 signatures that did support it. And, at the time it was, really the idea of that was shut down. The reason I bring it up today is I think the circumstances that we find ourselves in are significantly different than they were 3 years ago. Of course, we went through the pandemic and all of the supply chain challenges. And I'll start here. Let's see. So why hens in Danville? As some of the commenters have mentioned, it really does increase desirability for those who live in current villages that have hens and ones that are already experiencing the benefits of owning hens and are able to continue that, should they look to invest in our community. It, of course, would improve the quality of life for the current residents who, maybe want to have a small herd of hens as well. And then, as Ethan mentioned, I think there's significant educational benefits for our youth living in the city. Of course, no surprise with the pandemic, it created challenges to allow children to get engaged. And I think this is a great opportunity for them to, of course, learn responsibility, where food originates from, stewardship, and really a sense of ownership and pride in taking care of something. As mentioned, so I found this when I was doing research really quite alarming. So ER visits in Illinois to address suicidal thoughts surged by 59% in Illinois from 2016 to 2021. This, of course, is the ages of 5 to 18 years of age. I step back and I think of that, and it's, I would say that is probably something that certainly motivates me to be here talking about something as simple as chickens, is to give the opportunity for kids to get engaged, to get away from the screen, and to go out into their backyard and have a responsibility, get to meet their neighbors. I think there's a lot of great opportunity there. And of course, gives them this sense of purpose, waking up, taking care of a hen, and Of course, also we experienced with the pandemic was egg availability. This was mostly due to the bird flu, as well as supply chain challenges in general from the pandemic. The average market level went down to just 29% in December. I'm sure many of us experienced going to Meijer, going to County Market, going to try to purchase a couple dozen eggs and seeing one, maybe they were out, or two, maybe they were limited, right? That might be fine for a small household, but that does create a challenge for households of larger sizes. And then, of course, the economic impact for the individual consumer. Egg prices jumped by 60%. Obviously, this is a financial impact for families trying to provide, and I think our community felt a big impact on that. And then, according to Feeding America's database, Vermilion County has a food insecurity problem. It's actually, I think, around 12.9%. Well, I don't think the eggs, would may or may directly impact this. I think it really creates availability, right? So if we have neighbors who have hens, who have eggs, and to become aware of challenges with our neighbors, we're able to offer that, right, and have that surplus of eggs to provide to our friends, family, and in our community. This is also kind of an interesting, and I hadn't experienced this, so I had some, really farm fresh eggs, is if you've ever, I would consider, buy farm fresh eggs and take a standard store-bought egg and throw it in a pan, and you will be startled by the differences in the quality of the egg. Really, the flavor is much better, but also in addition to that, there's some significant health benefits as well. Less cholesterol, saturated fats, vitamins, omega-3 and beta-carotene, all really great way to address some health concerns as well. And this is also a great point. They do consume certain food waste, so this is a great way to really have a fully sustainable and, especially for gardeners in the community, they can, contribute to that. They are, while their direct waste is potent, obviously mixing in with compost and soil in a diluted manner can become very beneficial and be a natural and safe lawn fertilizer. Of course, the supply chain impact, how many eggs, right, get broken on the way to the store, as well as with the avian flu. Commercial farming required as that flu surged, mass destruction of hens who did become contaminated with that. And then, of course, pest control as well. So I found this interesting. Hens really do, they're able to address the tick population and other, termites and other insects in our lawns. So those are kind of some of the benefits and a lot of the ways that this addresses. And here's really how this could work. Really, so I start off, no roosters at all. And the reason for that is just really the sound, right? That's very similar to how the city of Champaign currently has their ordinance for hens. And this allows for really just that no sound, and then hens do have a little bit stronger personality, right? And so we don't have to worry about that. Permit application, this is also similar to the city of Champaign. They require a permit. They have a hen limit based on the property size. They have building requirements for the coop. And then also they have hen run guidelines, right? So hens cannot escape freely. I would encourage you guys to take a look at the City of Champaign's website, and there they have a page that talks about backyard hens. It also shows the ordinance and other resources that are available to them. So common question, Hens do, of course, you would smell if they're not commonly cleaned, right? Just like any pet, if you leave a cat with a litter box for a very long time, there will be smell. Same thing with hens. But this is an interesting fact. 10 chickens generate less than 65% of the amount of waste to that of a single 40-pound dog. Are they nosy? Hens do create some noise, especially when laying an egg or are in sense of danger. But I would certainly say in comparison to the many dogs in our neighborhood, they are significantly less. And then would they run free? And of course, with the correct guidelines and having those set in place, the runs would contain them and prevent that from most often happening, right? And I think this really aligns to our principles as a community. Obviously, Vermilion County is an agrarian culture, and many of our neighbors encourage this and really creates a strong sense of community. It addresses the common food shortages that we've been experiencing, and it can really allow access to healthy eggs for families of all income levels. And then lastly, back to our youth, right? With those challenges and the statistics we talked about earlier, I think any positive reinforcement support that we can give our youth is certainly worth looking at. And of course, it really teaches them sustainability practices, daily responsibility. It creates rewarding hard work, and they get to experience the value of food and where it comes from. So yeah, that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your guys' time.
Thank you. Anybody got any questions?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to know what's going on with the roosters.
The hens will still continue to lay eggs without a rooster, and so that tends to be most city ordinances have that just because it addresses the sound issue, right, of roosters.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to say I was born and raised on Short Street, which is no longer there, but we raised chickens all my life, and we ate a lot of chicken. And it was beautiful. We gave neighbors chicken, and I think it's a beautiful project you're talking about. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Is there any other questions?
I have just one more remark to make. Thinking about the process of trying to create an ordinance for this made me think about, an alternate reality. Perhaps if we had to defend, say we didn't have a society where we had dogs already, and we were trying to present the case of, hey, I want a dog. Well, I show you pictures of these 40, 60, 70-pound creatures with canine, teeth that can easily rip flesh. And when they're loose, I've been chased personally twice by dogs in Danville. I think it'd be a hard sell to convince people to agree to have dogs. But since it's already part of the fabric of our society, we consider them man's best friend. If you get a loose hen, it's not chasing kids down and biting them. It's sort of an adorable issue to have.
Yes, Eve.
If there was an ordinance prior here in Danville that was brought before the city council, does anyone know why that ordinance didn't pass?
I don't know if it was ever brought as an actual ordinance, but I think for those of you who have served with me for a while, I want to say this is the fourth time since I've been involved. I became a councilman in May of 2009, and this is the fourth time it's been brought to us. And here are the concerns that people have brought up routinely. One is the issue of smell, which I think Mr. Massey addressed some. And the concerns that could create. A second one was predators, and issues that could create, attracting different predators. And then I think the biggest one probably for many of the aldermen has always been enforcement. it's very difficult, as you know, for us to enforce the ordinances we have now. And so if we add additional things that people have to monitor and regulate, how will we monitor that? And please know, these aren't necessarily arguments that I'm making, but I'm just saying, you ask what's happened or what have been the concerns in the past. And so I would say, Chairman, Vice Chairman, are those the things that you recall?
Oh, yes.
I don't know if there were other things that I've not mentioned, or if there's more
Well, just like right now, we're down to just 2 inspectors in the city. And if you'll look, and you probably got a full report on toters, and I got news for you. For the amount of toter tickets that they've issued, it's not good. And here again, you've got the problem with the coyotes and the foxes and the raccoons, which, most of us don't realize, but just like out where I live in the Heights, I'm surrounded by different branches of the river, and I fight them all the time, just with my garden. They're nice, chickens are nice, but I'll tell you what, when you go out there one day and you've got a massacre on your hands because they got in, it's terrible. Or you get the bird flu. This was some of the things that come up years ago, I think clear back to 2009. So, and I believe our clerk has a list that she's kept a file on. And I don't know if she sends it to everybody, but she has it. You can look at it. So,
Clerk Monson can share that with you. I think she's compiled for us a list of when this is brought before, and I think the minutes from those meetings and such too, so that you could, or the public could take a look at those.
And I would also say, my thing is with inspectors, I think in your ordinance, you need to address the cost that it would cost us to have an additional inspection.
Something that wasn't mentioned is, he did mention the Champaign, that they have an ordinance. This is a sort of a recent development. 2016, our close neighbor Champaign has this ordinance, and they've recently publicized sort of a success story of how that's gone for them, highlighting the COVID response, the COVID reaction. So even if things have been presented historically, things have shifted and changed. And for the inspector point, I think others might argue, but I'd say we're growing as a city, at least economically, and any growing has growing pains. And I would hate for, this opportunity to be missed because we just happen to currently be constrained, when this could be permitted, and then who knows, we have 2 inspectors soon. But we would have said no to it, and then we have inspectors, and it could have been a yes. So just drawing attention for people to look into the Champaign example, because they're usually a bit more restrictive than I'd say we are. And if they can permit it and not have bedlam because of chickens, then I think we can do better.
I just like that. As far as I know, it's never been presented this well. I really appreciate this. This was very educational.
Thank you.
and if you'll look at some of the files that Ms. Munson has, I mean, it's got a lot of stuff in there. It's got different places around the state with their ordinances and everything else. So it's really helpful. Mm-hmm. It's also, there's applications for some of them. So some of our work is already done.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, and I'd like to kind of table the vote of an ordinance for a while, because I'd like to discuss this thoroughly. I don't want to try to rush this just so that we can get it. I want to make sure that it's well thought out, so. I was kind of hoping that we could maybe address this sort of late April and give us, I don't know if that's too soon still, but give us some weeks to talk about it.
That's a good decision.
Yep. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Chairman, our clerk has reminded me that if it would be possible, if we can send it to the entire city council as well, that way they can take a look at what's been presented. That'd be great.
That'd be fine, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I really think half of us isn't going to do the job. You're going to have to get him to come back for.
Well, the good news is we do have three of our older persons here, so you've got a majority.
Okay, there
of
they
you,
are,
but there are several that are missing. So, to make sure if we email this to everyone, then they'll have an opportunity to see it. Thank you for the reminder.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Puts us to item number 6, approval of payrolls for 3/24 of 23. We need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any questions on the payrolls? If not, roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Pickering,
Yes.
Alderman Byrd,
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes.
7 yes.
7 yes, thank you. Puts us to item number 7, approval of vouchers payable for 3/28 of 23. I'll need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any questions on the vouchers payables? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Byrd,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Pickering.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes.
7 yes.
7 yes. Puts us to item number 8. City Clerk's report, Lisa Munson. 8A is an ordinance enacting and adopting supplement to the Code of Ordinances. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 8A? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Ludwig.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Pickering.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes.
7 yes.
Yes. Puts us to 8B, items of information. Ms. Munson?
Thank you, Chairman. We've been working on annual business license renewals, and in regards to that, we've come across a few ordinances that need to be updated, mostly just for language on who approves the various licenses and that kind of thing. For example, we have one this evening, it's under the fire report for the ambulances, and that's what that is regarding, so there'll be some more of those coming. And I wanted to remind everyone to turn in your statement of economic interest forms to the county clerk. Has everyone received those?
Yeah.
Okay. And what else do we have? Oh, in case anyone's wondering why their names aren't on the display board upstairs anymore, it's because we're working on those. When you come into the foyer, we actually had some fabric spray paint because they were so faded. So to save a little bit of money, we just had that done and we're letting that dry, and then we're putting all the new letters on the boards. So in case they've been missing for a while, so I just wanted to explain that. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions? Ms. Munson? All right, thank you very much. Puts us to item number 9, finance. 9, Ashlyn Macy, who's comptroller, has 9A, an ordinance authorizing to create Fund 605 opioid settlement fund. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 9A?
A little bit of explanation.
Sure.
Good evening. So the city of Danville, along with countless other local governments throughout the nation, is participating in a national opioid settlement. Our state gave us the option to jump in with them as they pursued a lawsuit against different opioid manufacturers, distributors, and pharmacies. Part of that settlement is that we receive funds. I assume they sued for punitive damages, and because we participated in the lawsuit, we're going to receive some of those. Part of the agreement that's in your agenda, there's an Exhibit B, which starts out of your agenda packet, PDF page 49, outlines what acceptable uses we can use these settlement funds on, so I thought it would be pertinent to create a separate fund. That way, as the money comes in, we are scheduled to receive payments for the next, I think it's 32 years for one of them and like 28 years for another, so a long time. These funds can sit in the fund, accrue, and we can find worthy purposes that align with the settlement agreement as they come forth. And I've already had some preliminary meetings with Chief Yates and the mayor to discuss different ideas, but
Thank you.
okay.
Yes, Ms. Teague?
Is there an anticipated amount?
That's what I said.
That's a good question. So we don't know long-term what those anticipated amounts are. We've already received $60,000 in 2 payments, and we just signed another agreement for the distributors. So we haven't received a single payment under that category, so.
Alderwoman Teague, I believe it's 4 or 5 additional distributors have been signed into the lawsuit too. And so we will receive even more. And as soon as we know what those will bring, we'll be able to give some ID. But essentially, it's a smaller amount annually over a longer period of time.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Williams?
What was the total amount of the settlement? Anybody knows that?
Kind of the same question. We're not quite sure what the total amount will be for the entire settlement because it's still ongoing. Because different defendants are like CVS, Walgreens, some manufacturers, some distributors, it's still ongoing, so we don't know. But we've so far already have $60,000 in our bank account.
Is there any other questions?
Chairman, I see Ms. Ryan in the audience, and she's one of the people who helped connect us to this, so I appreciate it, Dan. We had seen some information, but then you sent us further information about it, so thanks.
Excuse me, who is she?
I'm sorry. This is Deanne Ryan. She's a very active community member.
Welcome to the meeting.
Well, if there's no other more questions, roll call, please. On 9A.
Alderman Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Burt?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Strebing?
Yes.
7 yes.
7 yes, thank you. 9B, we have an ordinance amending section 39.07 for the city code pertaining to compensation of municipal employees. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 9B ordinance? Yes, Ms. Teague.
So I noticed, first of all, that it has a date from October. So I'm assuming this is action that we already taken, and then and someone can confirm if that's accurate or not. And then the second part that I was confused about was under B, where it had certain titles, and then there were certain titles that were struck. My thinking was that the titles that were struck are titles that we still have. Did we change the names on those sometime previously? I'm just trying to get an understanding of the purpose behind this change.
Sure. So for the October date, are you third paragraph on the actual cover ordinance? Is that what you're referencing, the October date?
It says,
Recently updated by ordinance number 9391.
Yes.
October 4th. Okay, so that's the last time we updated the wage chart.
Okay.
We typically reference that every time we update this. So that's what that date is. For section B, which would be non-union employees, that is part of, so are you referencing the facilities and grounds manager as opposed to the stricken Parks and Public Properties Manager?
Actually, the position that kind of caught me off guard was the grant manager, which is, I know, a position that I thought we recently added, and it's stricken. So that's one of the reasons why I was thinking, okay, am I confused about something here?
Page
I'm looking-
2, section B. The positions of planner 1, classification.
Oh, on the cover ordinance, sorry. I was looking in the wage chart. So the wage chart is not my favorite ordinance. It's very confusing because every time we update it, I strike what is no longer relevant as a change, and what's added is the underlined portion. So everything in the cover ordinance that is new and we're changing is added, and because it's added, it's the underlined section, and because it's no longer what's being changed, it has to be stricken.
Okay.
So it's a very confusing cover ordinance. Are there any other questions about the wage chart? If there's no questions, I can kind of give an overview of what's in here. So the more simple, so Since the last wage chart was updated, the salary for elected officials has been updated, so that's reflected in Section A. Section B is our non-union employees. The only changes that are in Section B are what was discussed and voted on with the passage of our budget most recently in December. There's nothing different there, other than the title for the new Facilities and Grounds Manager. Upon the retirement of Steve Lane as our Parks and Public Properties Manager, Public Works decided to tweak that job description a little bit. That change is represented here. Other than that, it's exactly what was in the budget. Section C is our part-time and temporary employees. Because of the state law where minimum wage has to be $15 by 2025, that range shifts every single year for our part-time and seasonal employees. So those ranges are just kind of moving as the state law moves us under Section C. Section D is all of our union agreements, which are updated by default when bargaining agreements are passed. So all of the different pages for our different bargaining units, if it's green, that means I've updated it since last time. If it's in white font, that means nothing's changed.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, on Lane's job, there was a title change. What was the purpose of that?
I feel like it's probably better served for Public Works to cover that, so I'll give the cliff notes. If you want more details, you could probably talk to Public Works. But my impression is that they felt that a lot of things had been put on that position as the years went on. He's been in that role for a long time, and they felt it was a little scattered, so there were some different items under Parks that were moved to the lead worker for Parks, and this position's job description is more geared towards city facilities and keeping those things up and running, city grounds and facilities.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
If no further questions, roll call, please.
Alderman Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Pickering.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes.
7 yes.
Yes. Puts us 9C. We have a resolution authorizing an agreement to add 457B, Roth provision to the nationwide deferred compensation plan. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 9C's resolution? Not, roll call, please.
Alderman York.
Yes.
Pickering.
Yes.
Byrd.
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes.
7 yes.
And yes, thank you. Puts us 9D. We have a resolution approving a retirement plan consulting program agreement. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 9D's resolution? If not, roll call, please.
Vice Chairman Pickering.
Yes.
Alderman Byrd.
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes.
7 yes.
7 yes, thank you. Puts us to 9E, items of information, and then we'll go right into risk management monthly report, and number 2 will be the personnel monthly report. Ms. Macy.
Are there any questions on either the personnel or risk report? Okay, so the finance department is just busy prepping for the end of the fiscal year. It's just around the corner, April 30th. We already have the fiscal year 23-24 budget keyed into the accounting system and available for divisions to see if they wish to be under that. Every year I send a end of fiscal year reminder email, so that's in the draft stages, just reminding how we, roll over, things we need to clean up before the end of the fiscal year, and then we'll be hopefully starting the next audit shortly after that. So that's what's going on in the finance division. Are there any questions? Thank you.
No, thank you. Puts us on number 10, fire. Aaron Marcotte, Fire Chief. 10A, we have a resolution amending Danville City Code Chapter 111 for ambulances. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 10A's resolution? Not, roll call, please.
Alderman Byrd.
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Teague.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
York.
Yes.
Pickering.
Yes.
Streebing.
Yes.
7 yes.
Yes, thank you. Puts us to 10B. We have a resolution authorizing purchase of custom Ferrara pumper apparatus, bid number 702. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 10B? If not, roll call, please.
Alderman Ludwig?
Yes.
T?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Burt?
Yes.
Strebing?
Yes.
7 yes.
7 yes, thank you. Puts us to 10C, items of information. You got the monthly status report, and number 2 is the fire chief staff report. Chief?
It's been kind of a good month for us. We started really getting out with the weather breaking finally, getting out and putting our hands back on equipment and training in those kind of fashions. Still utilizing the houses as much as we can. We'll continue to do that through April. Trying to just stay ahead of that excavator, trying to do things. We also, at the same time this month is when sort of the outside training occurs. So we have a lot of people attending schools outside here, some of it contractually because of the system we set up now to get the young guys to different technical schools, a lot of rope ops class, trying to bolster our technical rescue team. Things like that are going on right now, and that'll go on for a while. Our academy guys, we got the report on them. They're all getting high marks, performing well. They're a little over halfway done now. So hopefully we're looking at mid-May to get them back. We got a whole orientation program for them so when they get back as soon as possible, so we can spend about 2 weeks with them when they get back and get them on to shift and on the street and things. So we'll still continue to be trained on for the next year or so, but that's how that'll work for them. Starting a lot of tours, facility tours, which has been nice. We had some companies call us. We try to make some calls to them. So you might start seeing us around town a little bit more, doing facility tours of some of our more target hazard type facilities and things. So that's going on. We got 2 of our officers completed the, one thing we're trying to do is get our fire investigation team to have more members on it, to have more availability. 2 of those guys completed that this week. So they're just waiting on test results. As soon as those officers get back, we can sort of like we discussed last month, where we could start to use those guys. So we're not having to call people back off shift and things like that. They can do it from the spot of being on duty and things like that. So calls are remaining pretty steady. We had 9 structure fires when I made the report because we had a couple busy weekend this weekend, of course. So we're a little up there, but calls are still on pace to be as on high. But the good part there is still no civilian injuries or firefighter injuries in that regard. So still good there. I guess.
Good. Anybody got it? Oh, yes, Alderman Williams.
Yeah, I think our firemen should be commended for their rescue of the individuals there at Vermilion Garden over the week. I think they did a splendid job, and it speaks well of their service.
Yes, thank you. That is a very taxing fire for us, an 8-unit apartment building. We estimate somewhere between 18 and 20 people were in that building at the time. The fire broke out. We got the audio today to listen to some of that and start reviewing some of that things. The guys will break it down about the quick actions and some quick actions by some of the police officers too as well, to help those people. So a working smoke detector, a working alarm system in that building certainly helped us in this case with that many people that time of night and things. But yeah, quick action is a very good fire. Same thing with the Bungie milling fire really too. Luckily it was contained to the one vat and they weren't running much product through, but that kind of fire can get out of control fast by having that grain goes everywhere through those buildings. Luckily for us, it was contained quickly to that vat. Didn't have much product moving, so the firefighters were able to get up there and stop that very rapidly before. And luckily it didn't spread to that facility, so it was going to be very challenging. So thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you, Alderman Williams, and I think Chief has understated the performance of both his guys and the police officers. Our police officers were actually still in the fire, helping hand people out of the window. And our firefighters then came and saved the other folks as well. So it was a huge joint effort, and there definitely would have been people who lost their lives if they hadn't exhibited such bravery and courage. And so once that's all settled and the investigation is thorough and done, then I hope to bring those individuals back to you to be commended publicly.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for the chief? If not, thank you, Chief. Puts us to item number 11, Human Relations. Ms. Sandra Finch, Administrator, items of information, and she has your monthly status report.
Good evening, everyone. For the period of February 21st through March 20th, the office handled 23 complaints, which consisted of the new complaints, 1 police complaint, 1 employment complaint, 1 complaint against other city employees, 6 housing complaints, 3 public accommodation complaints. And then in terms of the old cases, have 3 police complaints, 7 employment complaints, a complaint against city employees, 1 of them, with a total of 23 complaints. Do you have any questions?
I don't know how you do it.
Used to doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. 12, Information Technology, Agnel De Silva, Administrator. He has a resolution, 12A, authorizing a contract for dedicated fiber internet connection and fiber internet network services. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions for Agnel on this resolution?
I too am curious and desirous of having fiber from AT&T. Is that possible for residents?
Sure. This is, again, just for city facilities, but I'm working with all the providers. We have, I think, 4 providers that provide, fiber internet services. Again, we do not have a map as to where the fiber is in Danville. So my goal is to work with our engineer, Sam, Adam, on the GIS side, and we're going to create a layer to show our citizens where the fiber is available in the city, so it's easier to kind of locate and contact the right provider to get access to that. So that's in works right now.
So once this is in place, there could be secondary opportunity from that point, you mean, once this is implemented?
No, this is already, AT&T, this fiber already exists.
We already have, we've had it for a long time.
Yes. So they are expanding, though. They did get some grants and things like that. They approached us a few months ago to put more fiber into the city.
I checked a couple weeks ago in hopes, and it's still not available.
Yep. So it's a process. So I'm going to get in touch with the state of Illinois person and then try to gather some information on that, and we'll have that soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep, we'll provide that. So just to give a brief overview of what we're doing here is, this proposal consists of fiber connectivity for our buildings, for internet, as well as building-to-building connectivity. Currently, we use Comcast services. We've been using them for several years. So what I've seen is, a trend with the pricing just keep going up, and, but their infrastructure is not being upgraded. They don't provide any latest updates, redundancy. And if you look at the modern fiber infrastructure, we have to plan ahead for next few years. So with AT&T's IP Flex proposal, it's flexible in the sense we pick and choose what we want. They put the infrastructure in place for us for future expansion. So they give you the access to that, and we can increase our bandwidth as and when we need it. We don't have to call them and say, hey, we need increase in bandwidth, and wait for months to expand and things like that. So the cost also is contained. So I talked to them about, so here if you see the cost comparison sheet, it has the 36 months. That's what Comcast provided. So I compared that with AT&T as well. But AT&T really doesn't, they said you can sign it. 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, the price remains the same. So I thought, looking at all the pricing increase over the years, it makes more sense to sign a 5-year contract to lock in that price. It's going to save us $127,000 over 5 years. And not only that, monthly, it's going to save us $21.20 approximately each month compared to what Comcast proposed to us. I did contact a couple other providers. They didn't even want to provide us quotes because the construction cost alone was way too much. It's almost $500,000 to put the infrastructure, like the fiber in place. So they backed out of that. So only providers that really can bid on is Comcast and AT&T. So I did talk to AT&T on this. They're on the state of Illinois contract, so that made it a little bit easier for us to, and the price-wise, if we compare that, I think AT&T would be the best solution for us. It's a good fit for the city of Danville facilities. They also provide us something called SIP. It's a modern telephone system thing, which means we now will have the ability to quickly transfer our lines. In case our phone lines went down in this building, they could quickly switch over to Public Works building, and we can continue taking calls with very low interruption. So that helps us with the IP Flex solution. Are there any questions on this proposal?
Anybody have any questions for Agnel? Nope. Back here.
We have to buy any new equipment, or is all our old equipment compatible?
Everything remains the same. There's no equipment cost, and then there's, AT&T will provide all the equipment at no charge.
Okay.
I just continue to be proud of our administrator. He keeps saving us money every contract that we go after.
Yep.
Thanks, Agnell.
Thank you.
If there's no further questions, roll call, please.
Alderman Teague?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Burt?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Streebing?
Yes.
7 yes.
Yes, thank you. Puts us to 12B, items of information and the monthly status report. Agnell?
Sure. On the monthly status report, do you have any questions on that?
No?
Okay. I have one more item. I talked to Chairman Streaming regarding this. I'm sorry, it was a last-minute thing, but I just got it approved this morning with Verizon. So we're getting some new phone devices. Usually what happens is anymore, there's nothing like free devices. You have to pay for the devices with Verizon. So we have a contract with Verizon, and we get free devices. We've been getting that for multiple years, and we keep getting that from Verizon. So what happens is we have some older equipment, like older phones, so brand new phones, like iPhone 2020s, that we don't use them because we get new batch of phones. So there's a company in Florida that does a buyback for these phones. So they offered us a buyback we have approximately 60 iPhones. So I put this in your Dropbox, the purchase order that said send us, and if committee is okay with that, to take it straight to the city council. So that's going to give us $11,400 that can go back into general.
Agnell got a hold of me today about 3:15. So I said, just put it as a note of interest, and don't have a problem bringing it to full council next week, so.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Yep, any questions for Agnell? All right, thank you, Agnell.
That's all I have. Yeah.
Chairman, also just want to give you a small heads up. Agnell and his team have been working hard to make sure that they have the proper structure to continue meeting our needs and the residents' needs. So they will likely be coming to you next month with a few suggested adjustments, so.
Okay, and I did email Agnell and his team want you to bring your laptop in next week on Tuesday. They're going to refresh it.
Thanks, Chairman.
Put some other stuff on it.
Yeah, we have some updates that we need to install and make sure everything's current on those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Puts us to item number 13, legal, James L. Simon, a corporate counsel, items of information, and his statistical report. I got it, barely got it out.
You all received the latest monthly and year-to-date report on cases filed and cases in progress, as well as the toters. You will probably note that there were no warnings or first tickets in the south area. That was Charlie Richards' area. For some reason, he was not writing them, and Charlie is no longer with us.
You mean east, don't you? Was it east?
East, I guess it would be, yes, east. In any event, no, east is Kenny.
Okay. Well, he's mine too.
Charlie's in the south.
He's
But
mine too,
anyway,
yeah. East and
we have
south.
12
Okay, sorry.
applications so far for the open position, and Becky, Karen, Rick, and Kenny and I will go, and Tim will go through those later in the week. I've sent them out to them and asked them to pick 4 or 5 if there are 4 or 5 viable candidates, and I'm done the same, and we'll get together to see what overlap there is and start working on that. And as you all know, and thank you to all of you, and the council members that are in the back and those that aren't here, for approving a 4th inspector. So at least we've got a good start with that. That comes online. We'll have availability in May and looking to fill that position. Becky is back, and Karen deserves an unbelievable amount of thanks. She was the glue for months that held the legal department together, kept us going, both for small claims and city court, as well as all the other activities that both of them do. And they've been answering, mostly Karen, answering Mona's phone, because unfortunately Mona's been out and probably will be out more. So if you happen to be by, thank them for me. on chicken coops. The only concern I have no position one way or another on chicken coops, it's up to you all, but inspecting. To my understanding, most people keep their chicken coops in their backyard, and inspectors normally can't get to the backyard, and we're not sure what they would inspect. So when you start thinking about chickens and chicken coops, is it a structure that should be inspected? I don't know. I don't know anything about chickens or chicken coops. I do tease my wife every so often that we're going to get a couple, and she says, oh, no. And that's basically it.
Is there any questions for legal department? If not, thank you, Mr. Simon.
Thank you.
Puts us item 14, Police Chief Chris Yates has a resolution, 14A, authorizing the purchase of 2 police vehicles. I'll make the motion to approve and dispense with the reading and ask for your approval. I'll need a second, please.
Second.
Is there any questions on 14A, resolution? Not? Roll call, please.
Alderman Williams?
Yes.
York?
Yes.
Pickering?
Yes.
Byrd?
Yes.
Ludwig?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Strebing?
Yes.
7 yes.
Yes, thank you. Puts us to 14B, items of information and February 2023 offense data. Chief?
The two things that I've noticed, and
Chief, I apologize. Can you lower your mic so we can make sure it's recorded and they can hear you?
about that.
Thank you.
hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we're staying even in most of the areas. We're seeing some improvement, except for domestic battery is still one of those things that is really bothers me. And I spoke with different command staff as well as looking at the numbers and reports. I'm trying to think, why are we seeing this increase when we're actually adding so much more effort to educate and prevent? And I don't want to use this as a rationalization, but I'm wondering if people are feeling more comfortable coming out and reporting it. And also with this initiative and the changes in policies that we have on making sure reports are done, and whenever there's probable cause that some type of offense took place, whether or not that's changing our reporting numbers. I don't chase numbers as far as overall stats and say, hey, we had 160 calls this month, or 160 reported calls out of the things that we report. Compared to 180 or 190, sure, they're indicative, but I want to see results at the long term. But it is discouraging when I see different things increasing, and I don't have a definitive answer as to why yet. We will. But those are things that definitely grab my interest on how we analyze that. Did anybody have any questions on any of the other stuff? Those were my questions that I had.
Yes, Chief Yates, in regards to the domestic battery, is this a man and a woman occurring, or a man and a child, or a woman and a child, or what?
Under the statute of the section 12.3-3.2, is anybody that lives within a domicile, within a home. Okay. Or it could be someone that used to have some type of relationship, like exes. So there's a broad variant. But, the majority are relationships, whether it's between a man and a woman, woman and a woman, woman and a man, or two men, it's all the same. It's anybody that has some type of relationship, live in the same household, or had a previous relationship would qualify under domestic battery or domestic violence. So it's a broad area, but the majority of them are relationships, direct relationships, and some type of intimate relationship.
Is any thought as to what's attributing this, or what's going on? Why are we having an influx of this?
I can't say necessarily that we're having an increase of the incidents. I think we're having definitely an increase in the reporting and the enforcement, I would hope. That's the thing. I think that out of all of your crimes, some things are reported, some things aren't. I think domestic battery traditionally has been severely underreported across all spectrums of society, white, black, rich, poor, north, south, east, west, and maybe even reported less under certain socioeconomic situations to where it's a bigger taboo. I don't know. That's the psychology of all of it. However, I think that what we're doing is we're trying to educate, and we've built some really good relationships with the violence prevention group that we've got together. A lot of this is headed by the SRC, Survivor Resource Center. They've done an excellent job in pulling resources together and having conversations. And so this is something that we've really pushed. Illinois is not a mandatory arrest state. It is a mandatory reporting state. I think that whenever there's been an offense and there's probable cause to make an arrest, I'd have to question myself why I wouldn't. That's my belief.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions for the chief? If not, thank you, Chief.
The only comments I have reference to the department real quick, just department news. We've got 2 more officers that are out of training. We've got, and they're assigned to patrol. They did excellent. I forgot that they were here because I never heard it. Usually I only hear whenever there's a problem or a challenge that we have to work our way through. I forgot that we had them almost, but they're on their own. They did excellent during the training. I'm very excited to see how they progress and develop as they become veteran officers. We have 3 officers that are currently in the field training program. That's our 15-week in-house training after they get out of the academy. I don't like to predict when they'll get out because we train them and we do not put them out until they're ready to be out on their own. And it's a very difficult and stressful time for the guys that are in field training because they do realize that, they've got to meet standards. We have 4 officers at PTI. We've been busy the last 4 years, really, but we've been busy this last year, especially. But we've got 4 officers at PTI. Deputy Chief McCord and I believe Detective Dunham went there. It's been 2 weeks ago now, and they said they were approached by several of the staff saying that how impressed they were with the officers that they're seeing from Danville. When we talk about law enforcement and recruits candidates and the people that, obviously every department's having a hard time with recruiting. Our numbers aren't 150 people taking a test for possibly 2 or 3 positions, okay? It's not like that anymore. There have been some requirements that have been lowered, but the standard remains the same, okay? So whether or not we change different things on different requirements, that's standard. They all have to still pass every test. They have to pass the written, plus now they have a video they have to pass, which has been very difficult for people. They've got the meeting with me, they got the oral interview with the board, they got the physical agility test. They have to go to a physical and psychological examination. Then they've got a 16-week police academy, and then they have a minimum of 15 weeks, which very few get there except for the 2 that are on their street in 15 weeks of in-house field training. And then they've got an additional, 6 months to a year to be still in actually the field training program while they're on probation and they're at will employees. So we're not lowering the standards. We're lowering. There have been some requirements that have changed. We also just made offers pending to 3 additional officers, pending medical and psychological testing. We should be getting all those results anytime now. Once they do, we'll have a early May swear-in because they'll have to report to the academy I think the second Sunday of May. So that will put us at 69. We had additional candidates, but we'll get quality right now over quantity. And we'll be testing again, and I'll be going to the mayor well, it'll be before September, but we'll be sending some people to September class as well. Reference to the fire, I don't have all the information yet. We have to do an after-action review of everything. Once I get all that, we'll determine, we have to make sure that we're all good. I have a clear picture of everything, but from everything I understand, both the police and fire department, the city should be very proud.
I saw actually one of the family members post about that basically they wouldn't be alive if it weren't for you guys, for your guys and gals, so.
Yeah, we're not very knowledgeable with fires. We know they burn. But what's nice about the relationship that we have within the departments, Chief and I had already talked, and I said, hey, I'd like to get a basic training course of do's and don'ts. I'll tell you, as much as we like to heckle each other, when we're at a major fire scene, we know someone's inside and we don't know if we can get in, and we see the fire trucks coming down, we're very happy. And I know that there was one time on a College Street fire several years ago, I was training someone, I was an officer that long ago, and if I would have gone through the window that I was wanting to go through, I probably would have fed the fire and killed everybody. And I didn't do it, luckily, and it was basically by chance. Fire department was there, I was on the second floor, thinking about kicking in a window, and thank goodness they got there, got in, and got them out, both unconscious, but they survived. It could have been really bad. Yeah.
And I appreciate Chief Yates, too. We already discussed also that having that little cross-training, we're going to try and give them a class on training what not to do at our things, and he's going to be best for them to give us a class on what not to do at their fire scenes and things like that. So I'm really happy with that level of cooperation, yeah. It is amazing to see all those guys with different things just come together in those moments when they really matter, and that moment really mattered, didn't it?
Well, even like when we talk about critical incident and stuff like that, we've done a lot of critical incident training and response training with the fire department. How we're going to work is separate but partnering teams, and it all works out, so good deal. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. Well, item number 15 is closed session. We don't have one of those tonight, I'm sorry to say, but item number 16, anybody have any items of information?
Chairman, I'd just like to remind everyone to come downtown next week, hop downtown next Friday night. All kinds of great activities for all ages of folks to enjoy. Chairman, I think. Is it Alderman?
Yes, Alderman Williams.
No, will we be meeting next Tuesday here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Right here in these chambers, 6 o'clock. Full council. And with taking care of everything we had on the agenda, the only thing we have left is adjournment. I'll need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chairman.
What's that? Is that longer?
Solar power. Going out and build Lion Eye Theater, outside theater.
I'm thinking we probably want to see.
Yeah, the old movie.
Yeah.